We start things off the track. The cuckold story that's gripped the nation for over a month now. Lucky and Slam getting into it. And look at me, the peanut butter in this delicious Twitter sandwich. But, you got to think that it's impossible over the last month to turn on CNN, ESPN, anything that's reporting on the news in the world today without getting 10 talking heads talking about just how hung Lucky is. And that's the debate right now. It's not, is he hung? That has been settled in the court of public opinion. But it's just how hung. And, just imagine being Slam for a moment and the motivation that it is to see basically 10 talking heads. One's holding up his arm for a reference. The other one is holding out a long tape measure. One of them's even bold enough to stand up waist level and bring out one of those laser beams that you use to measure for big spaces. And he holds it up, points to a very far away wall, and then holds up the number to the screen. He says, that's my estimate. So you've got the drama, you've got the uncertainty about what happened with Pam, and then you have Lucky throwing gasoline on the fire. He's saying that Slam cannot keep a girlfriend, let alone race, and he is going to lap him, essentially. He's so confident about it. We'll see how things turn out for Lucky, starting things off at the Saudi Open. And a tough week to start for me. I was trying to watch this thing live. I'm actually just watching the footage now, and it was tough because I did get evicted from the ESPN studios right before the races began. I was going to watch it on the TVs in the lunchroom, but Bob Iger came down personally and said that it's one of the biggest pleasures of his job to date to get to remove me. That's one of the reasons why he came back from ESPN, and not remove me from the network, mind you, but remove me from the studio physically. We're two guys, we're two alpha males, and we like to go at it, and that's sort of like what Slam and Lucky are doing on the track. And look at Slam struggling through this final event, or final lap, I should say. But that bullet bill comes in handy in the Golden Mushroom. That's one hell of a combo. It's a podium-getting combo. But yeah, Bob Iger, he comes in with his goons. And, I'm no stranger to being evicted. You can ask any of my ex-wives. They've had to bring in their burly, new boyfriends and burly guys and pull me out of many houses that I've legally lost in divorces. And, to be quite honest with you, a little bit of a perk. It's not really incentivizing me not to, burrow into the house, so to speak, and hold on for dear might. Big, strong men carrying me outside. Doesn't sound bad, but Bob's got his goons, and I'm basically holding my hands up against the door frames. Look at this, Bebo with the bullet and the Golden Mushroom. That seems like the ticket to the podium in these circuit events. Slam and Bebo just sort of doing the same thing to get onto the podium. But look at the chaos of this. Shell Carter in about 4th or 3rd place. That shell hits him at the wrong time. He's all the way back in 7th, just struggling to survive, just not fall into last place. Misses about 3 or 4 shells just to get onto the 7th place. Lucky is not so lucky. Up in 2nd place, hit with the green shell, still in a good spot, about 5th place. But here comes CBK, hits him, and 4 people pass him all the way down to 9th. That has got to hurt. But I'm putting my hands up against the door frame, and 2 or 3 guys are pulling me out, and I'm the hermit crab in this situation. You can't pull me out of my shell. And look at this long distance snipe. Lucky is just getting some of the worst luck we've seen. Unlucky indeed. But while I'm getting, just sticking myself in there, I'm pitching to Bob because, you don't get a room with Bob Iger very often. And, I'm just pitching ideas off the top of my head that I'm thinking about. And I'm telling Bob, let's open with the disclaimer, not for children. Everybody thinks that Disney is for children. And I'm not a baby for watching Disney. So the caption, not for children, that would be really powerful to start with. Then we get Welcome to Jamrock playing, and Shell Carter struggling a little bit to start these opening events, just not quite himself, missing that shortcut that he usually hits. And it just seems like the first 3 events, not fully Shell Carter's day so far. But, Welcome to Jamrock starts playing, out in the streets, they call it murder. It's echoing. You're on the edge of your seat. And then we see Jar Jar Binks smoking a intergalactic kahuna blunt. The stormtroopers are walking by, and he says, "Miso, wanna hit?" And at that point, Bob Iger is done playing games. He personally comes in with the security and he pries me out of there with them. They take me outside, and the guy says to me, perks of the job. And at that point, they should put me down on the street. I should walk away as an American citizen. Disney does not own this property outside. This is American property. Look at that. Shell finding his rhythm, getting a first place by quite a wide margin on Hyrule Circuit. Lucky having fun out there, getting hit with a banana peel, but he has that beautiful mushroom just circling him, and he knows when to use it. Avoids that piranha plant, flies in there, a third place, his first time beating Slam on the day. Should have been an easy second for King Midas, but he just cannot handle that bomb. But, you know, they say perks of the job and they throw me in a dumpster. And I think that was too much. But Pam wins that event, clinches that. It's just nothing but good things. And we move on to the final event of the season. And I'm just at my lowest, you know, in that dumpster. I'm just saying, how did you get to this place, Mike? You know, I don't doubt myself usually, but I was just thinking, how did you get here? And an angel calls me, my guardian player. He says that he has been talking to his spiritual guide quite a bit. And speaking of spiritual guides, CBK flying through the fires and the flame. He's got the mushrooms and he's flying in there. He's just trying to get a drift off of Slam, but he can't quite do it. But on such a difficult level, to come in fourth, that's a huge leap for him. You never saw him doing stuff like that before, and I expect big things for him next year. Somebody who's maybe doesn't have as big things in the future, Bebo, but the 9th place to start things off, and hopefully this isn't a trend. But he tells me the whole player coin situation has been weighing on his soul, and he's been talking with his spiritual guide, and they think that the right thing to do is make things right with me. And I'm smiling and thinking, whew, $500,000 check coming my way, please. And, you know, he says I'm not liquid right now, but... And I can relate to that. I also have that problem. I'm definitely not liquid right now either. I have less assets than him, but we're both not liquid. And I get that. We're guys who are businessmen. We're smart guys. So I can relate and sympathize with that. So what I can do for you is $10,000. I say a little bit more would be good. Not liquid. Looking into the final stretch. Shell and Pam battling it out again. Pam won the first event, Shell Carter in second. A little bit of role reversal. Shell Carter in first, and all the way at the back, King Midas just struggling. This guy is hot and cold. You saw him in the first event. He was just flying away with it. And here we see him. He just can't handle those items. He's falling all the way back into 8th. But player, you know, he pauses and he says, I'm not doing this to seem like Jesus Christ. I'm not doing this to get the publicity. And if I see a word of this in the paper, I'm going to lose my freaking mind, because I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart. It's not a publicity thing, but how about I get a lease together, and this is crazy, but I get a lease together at the new player condominiums in Disney World. They're luxury condominiums, they're player themed, and I'm going to get you 3 months reduced rent on this lease. I say 3 months free. He says, you're twisting my arm. Okay, free. And it's like, okay, I've got $10,000. Not all the debt that I have, but it's a good chunk. I have a place to stay. I was just in a dumpster. I say, sign me up. But look at this. Slam Carter in second place. Shell up all the way in first place. And look at this, the Daredevil T-Money flying around, dodging shells. Third place, incredible indeed. Lucky just struggling. We see Slam and Lucky just having, really just not being in the same ballpark today. Right now, as you know, as of that race, Lucky has only won 1 race between the two of them. Slam is just dominating him. I think it's 6-1 at this point. Just an absolute domination on Slam's part. Lucky is going to be eating a banana peel, I think, and he went from apparently fighting Slam to fighting Bebo, but you know, it's so I sent over to player, I sent, you know, a JPEG of my signature. I say, you sign whatever the hell, you know, you put this on whatever, make it legal, we're gonna do this. So he's picked up the hard drives and he has them now. And yeah, but I mean, Shell Carter second place to clinch this one. And we'll see how that goes for him. But It looks like it's going pretty well, but Lucky is just struggling throughout this day. It's tough to see, but this is a chaotic event, and it's just. But I mean, I think that life is getting a little bit better. And look at this, Shell Carter. He struggled through the first 3 events, but the final 5 events, we get 2 second places and 3 firsts. So, boy, I mean, Pam dominated this season, but there's some great racers. And I mean, Lucky had a tough day. He beat Slam in this race, 6-2, the final score between them. But I think there's so much talent in this league, and Lucky's got to apply himself. We saw Slam put in the work after these tweets. I think Lucky might have been a little bit busy with Pam, but I mean, there's nothing but talent, and there's going to be some new racers next season. Shell Carter finishing it off with a win. You know, Pam dominated. There's no denying that. We see 215 by Pam, 187 by Shell. Pretty good. And then down and down and down. But man, Morton Construction dominating. And of course you can point to Pam as you know, the best racer in the league, leading the best team. But the real difference maker in that team, no doubt, is Slam Carter. That second level, he just dominated at a level that was just different. If you put together Shell and Slam Carter, all of a sudden, it's very, very close between the teams. So, I mean, Morton did an incredible job. There's no doubt about it. But, I mean, Lucky clinching that final spot. T-Money, they got some ground on them. And as we can see in the headlines later, a little bit of controversy around that sort of Champions League spot between T-Money and Lucky. But no doubt in the world that T-Money is one hell of a racer, and she deserves potentially to get into that Champions League spot. I'll be betting on her to win it if she wants to race for it. But at the bottom, of course, there's the CBK Bebo, just sort of back and forth, and CBK proving he's not the worst racer in the league. But this is exciting stuff, and we'll dive into the headlines in a second. But first, a note from one of our incredible sponsors, Soup Club for Men. Soup is no longer just for women. Men, get ready to finally enjoy the thick, durable soups you've always dreamed of. No more whispering to the waiter, I think I'll have the soup. And he's like, what are you talking about? What did you just say to me? I think just meet me in the bathroom with the soup. You go, he's losing his mind. You're following him down. You're talking to your date. She's looking at you. And you're saying, I'll just be right back. The waiter's walking away. He's not dealing with this. And you walk up to him and you go, hey, meet me in the bathroom. And you go, what the fuck are you talking about? And you go, just meet me in the bathroom and then bring me the soup in the bathroom. You eat the soup with your feet up on the toilet in the stall. And then you go back to your date and you say, man, I just really let one out there. So no more of that. Now you walk in and it's the soup now. So that's the difference that Soup Club for Men is bringing. So, you know, use code ThickSoup for 50% off your next order. But now we go on to one of my favorite segments, the headlines with Mike Austin. First up, Pamela is shocking the world, saying she's not going to be competing in Champions League. Had those big allegations about abuse, all these different things. And she's citing that she wants to spend time focusing on mending relationships, rehab, not specifying what kind of rehab, but just a lot of stuff. You know, I think the PR team is saying get out of the spotlight for a little bit. And I can't blame them, because she's gone through a lot this year. She has nothing left to prove, and a lot of questions about her conduct. And then T-Money. This is what I alluded to earlier. She slams the MKS commissioner. What she's referring to here, if you remove the Hog Classic, which took her off that inside drifting bike and gave Lucky a second place, his only podium of the year was the Hog Classic. Everybody on those big, beautiful flame riders. And, you know, we love the look of that event, but a perfect tie, 109 to 109 in events outside of that. So I think T-Money has a gripe there. A gimmick event cost her a chance at Champions League. And I think that Lucky has to see that and really feel like he's got T-Money and his heels. And then, disturbing news. King Midas escorted to MKS headquarters following, quote, disgraceful performance at the Golden God Championship. And never good to be escorted anywhere in Saudi Arabia. But we wish him the best. I have not heard from him. He did go dark on Twitter for quite a while now. But next headline, Slam says, call me Demolition Man, maybe a new nickname in the works. And he claims that he took a sledgehammer to Lucky's career in the final weekend. So no doubt about that. I mean, we saw at the final sort of press conference, Lucky is just trying to answer a question, and out of the locker room you hear get up and slam and take it to the jam. And no doubt about that, that's going to be ringing in his ears all off season. And we're going to see these guys competing head to head in Champions League soon enough. So it's exciting stuff. I know that Slam has he qualified these things, and he says, when we're out there in the Champions League format, Lucky is my brother in arms. We're racing for MKS, and we're racing for the glory of the Saudi regime. A little heavy-handed, but he says those things. But I mean, at the same time, I think Lucky takes it a different direction. He's looking to kill Slam, and he doesn't see any loyalties. He doesn't see MKS as we got to race together. He's saying, you're my competitor, and I'm going to try and eat you alive. And I think that the difference is the preparation. And if Lucky comes prepared, maybe he's Demolition Man going forward. But for right now, Slam, definitely the Demolition Man. And then finally, a feel-good story. Inspiration takes all forms. CBK does not finish last. It is comeback season. I mean, he almost died their first season that he was out there. And for him to come back and race and, just do what he did out there, I think it's inspiring. And as I said, we're seeing glimpses of a racer who's ready to really pop and maybe sort of fight for Champions League next year. I think I see good things for CBK's future, and we're just going to have to wait and see for Season 2.